Hello guys, David Vose here. Oh man, it snowed. Let me show you. I'll show you. It snowed. Yeah, look at that. It snowed. It really did. Oh guys, I've got some very, very, very important information for you today. Unbelievable information, guys. You really need to hear me out today. We did a video yesterday about health and the one Back to Eden, and there was a lot of information in that. I was kind of disappointed with that video because while I think the information is very important that was there, I think it's boring for a lot of people to go through all of that. I mean, that's kind of the information behind the information, sort of a backdrop for what I'm going to do today, because today we're going to get right down to the literal thing that you can do. That no hanky-panky, we're just going to tell you something that will blow your living mind to find out that there is a way to be healthy. You could be 80 years old, lying in a hospital with a thing up your nose. And may the Lord bless you all, and any of you who may actually be very ill, perhaps might be listening to this. I hope you will listen to it. This information will change your life in this real world that we live in dramatically within just a few days and weeks. And within months could bring you out of critical health problems that you were ready to die, and bring you back to full health within a short time. But, you know that they are not, the doctors, the world, they're not trying to tell you the truth. I mean, even when I say that, people are just like, rolling your eyes back in your head, because you're like, oh, okay, what's the truth? What do you because people say, oh, you've been lied to, and then they tell you some other lie. I'm not going to tell you any lies. I'm going to tell you the flat out truth, which is why some of what I'm going to say is going to sound difficult. If you go online, this is how hidden the truth is. This is how absolutely and seriously hidden all of this truth is. That is so simple, a child could understand. But so that you get an idea of just how difficult it is to find truth, like trying to find light in a box with all the windows and doors closed and no light source. It almost can't be done, because if we ever heard the truth, we would recognize it and we would understand it. But since we're not hearing the truth, we're only hearing bits and pieces of half-truths, and we cling to them like candy. Oh, I found a half-truth. But it can actually be damaging to you. Here's what I mean. And I've said this quite a bit now for a long time now. I've been saying don't eat vitamins. But don't take them. Do not take vitamins. Do not take them. And here's why. They're all synthetic. Okay, Dave, so what? Well, they don't work on a metabolic level the way that real ones do. But there's another reason. You cannot take one supplement or two or all the ones you got in that bottle. There might be 20 of them in there. Oh, I got all of them. They're not. You're not getting them all, and they're all synthetic. Let's say, oh yeah, but wait a minute, I got vitamin E, got vitamin A, got vitamin D, got vitamin. Well, hold on. Do you know how many different kinds of vitamin E there are? If you take one kind of vitamin E, you are deficiating yourself in another kind. It's impossible to try and play deity and say, okay, I don't need food. I can just supplement my health with this synthetic group of vitamins that the doctors claim they have found that you need. I guarantee, number one, the doctors are not out looking for things that you need. The truth is, way back thousands of years ago, when Mama gave you some cod liver oil or a spoonful of molasses or made some chicken broth, that was far better for your health than these pills and things that you're getting today. You could eat a plateful of liver, a serving of liver, and have more benefits out of that than all of these. In fact, the liver does nothing but help you and do good things for you and will last and improve your health. The synthetic ones and the mix and matching of the vitamins that you're taking, because you're not getting them all, that one serving of liver will actually go into your system and help you and give you vitamins and nutrients in a complete way. The establishment and all these gurus on YouTube, they all seem like Dr. Berg and all the rest. In some ways, I don't want to besmirch their integrity, and they seem like they're trying, and they've got a lot of good information in some ways, but it's all deficient in so many very important ways. But I don't know why nobody tells you, do not take vitamins. It is bad for your health. I mean, way worse than bad for your health. Like I say, if you take vitamin E, you say, well, I need more vitamin E. You go out and take vitamin E, you're worsening the situation. You're depleting. You know, how many people have heard, oh, go take vitamin D3 or K2. You got to take them both. Finally, they were taking vitamin D and that was all they were doing. And then somebody come along and say, oh, man, we got to take vitamin D3. Well, first of all, they don't even tell you why you got to take vitamin D3. They say, oh, it's better, right? Well, vitamin D2 is plant-based. Vitamin D3 is animal-based. Now, we've talked about this with vitamin A and other things. If you get carotene, it's water-based. You're peeing it out every day. You don't have a store of it. And it isn't usable. It's not stored in your body. So you don't have any amounts of it. You have to eat every day in a perfect diet if you're going to do vegetables. And you can't do that. There are no vegetables out there that they're not even good enough for you. They have other problems with them. I mean, carrots are hybridized. They're softer. They're easier to chew. Things like potatoes and things. This is modern stuff. It's hybridized. It isn't the old roots and leaves. Natural roots and leaves weren't made to eat. And there are things in roots and leaves like nitrogen. Like people say, eat your spinach. You know that spinach will kill a baby? There's too much nitrogen. It's not a balanced food. Vegetables are not balanced food. They're only to be eaten in times of famine. Now, Jesus gave us fish, and I'm going to... This will prove to you, if you have any common sense, that what Jesus said, everything he said was absolutely the truth. And it's the word of the divine. It could not be an accident that everything that Jesus said, he said eggs were perfect food. Oh, wait till you find out what eggs have in them. But before we get into the foods, we're going to talk about cod liver oil. We're going to talk about eggs, liver, things like this. Before we get into that, I just want to explain to you that anything that is plant-based doesn't stay in your body more than it takes time for you to go to the bathroom. And the plant-based, water-based vitamins and minerals cannot be stored in your body for future use. You're not building up any store. And they are not in the form that can be assimilated. It's a long process. And in many cases, it takes more other vitamins to process the vitamins that you get that way. So you may actually be becoming deficient by eating a root or leaf or vegetables. Vegetables can make you deficient. I'm not saying you should never eat vegetables. They can be eaten when you don't have other food. But you need to eat real food on a regular basis. And Jesus told us to eat fish. And we're also going to show what it means, the sacrament, and why, what the connection is between, why did Jesus say, eat my flesh and drink my blood? Because he's talking about a different kind of offering or sacrifice. Jesus died. That's another sacrifice, but it's symbolic and it's deeper than most people can comprehend. Because most people think that the Old Testament sacrifices and slaughterings were just rituals. They weren't just rituals. You did get life from slaughtering an animal. The word sacrifice just means slaughter. It's not a religious word. Altar just means a barbecue pit. It's not a religious word. Atonement just means covering. Because humans are naked, in order to be clothed or covered, and this includes tents. They used to make the tents with the hide, and the shoes and the clothing, and so it was the covering. This is why it says in Genesis 1 that they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and they recognized they were naked, and they needed a covering. So the first sacrifice, it says Yahweh brought them covering, an animal skin. He brought them skins for covering. That's atonement. Well, that animal skin could not have come about, doesn't just drop off of a tree. You must murder an animal, and the animal's giving his life that you might live. Now, it's only temporary. Jesus was telling us some other kind of sacrifice. His body and his blood. Now, obviously, that's a symbol, because it's a secret, and very few people are going to understand this. The body and the blood of an animal was sacrificed in the Old Covenant. The body of Christ isn't necessarily his own physical body that was offered on the cross. He dwells in this universe as a tent. And all of the things that you see around you is the body of the divine mind. And so we need to move up from the carnal ways and existence of offerings and life and an eye for an eye to a different kind of offering, which is love and partaking of his true body and his true blood, our own body and blood, which is the world around us in a higher state, the spiritual, the fruit of this world. It's a higher food, a higher energy. He was telling you, I don't want you to murder the animals anymore. That's death. That's a system of death. Now, I don't believe the majority of the human beings in the world were going to be able to understand this until the appointed perfect time. But he was telling us a truth. Oh, we could get into some amazing things about like what it means to be the Son of Man. Jesus says, I am the Son of Man. Do you know what that means? People think, oh, you blasphemer. He wasn't just saying, I am the Son of Man, and the Jews thought that was blasphemy, but he was saying, I, as a human, am the Son of Man. Do you understand? We're all the sons of men. And what is the Son of Man? Well, he is the one who will gain access to the Ancient of Days in the book of Daniel. Not one person, but all of us. As one body, Jesus being the head. So, there are so much that we need to talk about over the next few weeks and months and years. We've got to understand all this. But this sacrifice, or this sacrament, is now going to be our daily meal. Because, the old slaughters and sacrifices were something they had to do every day. Why? Because they had to eat every day. So they went out and killed animals to find a way to eat. Jesus came and said, I'm going to tell you that what you eat is why you're dying. That covenant brought death because it was an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. I'm going to give you another covenant. It doesn't mean we're all going to implement it immediately. Right? Because he didn't say, you're going to be perfect right away. We're going to be restoring immortality immediately. There was going to have to be 1,000 years. There's going to have to be a slow restoration. The ground would have to lie fallow. The Sabbath would need to come. There's a lot that we could talk about there, but I want to get into the health part. So Jesus said, for now, I want you to eat fish and eggs. He said eggs are the perfect food, and he always gave them fish. Now, when he did that, what was he saying? I'm going to give you a way to worship, some ritual. Cut these fish up and you'll live longer? No. Was Yahweh giving Adam and Eve covering because it's some ritual? No. They needed covering. Do you understand? We got to have it or we're going to die. And ultimately, the great truth of the universe is that we can't die. We're immortal and we're in an illusion right now. And so we're naked. But we need to be clothed with that garment that we get at the end of our probation, and we're exalted and get these white robes, and now we're immortal. We put on immortality, Paul says. So in the meantime, we have to have our daily meal. And they broke bread and daily among, from house to house, in everybody's house among the saints, on a daily basis, they broke bread. And what did it mean to break bread? It didn't mean that they took a loaf of wheat bread from Walmart. It was a specific feast or festival that wasn't a yearly thing, but it was a daily thing. As often as you do this. And Paul says, when you come together, some of you are gluttons, and this is not about some ceremony. This is a love feast. Agape feast. And it was, if we were to understand all of the ins and outs of what Jesus was talking about, he was telling us what you can understand about this right now is that you just look at the literal and see that I'm changing this religious thing that you guys thought was religion. I know you can't understand it's not religion. I know you don't understand that we're talking about a natural thing, that your Heavenly Father is real. I know you don't understand what this universe is and how and why everything works. But for now, I'm going to tell you in such a way that even if you just look at the outside of it, the literal part, and you do just what I told you to do, and you ate the fish, and even if you ate bread, I suppose would be helpful because you're eating fish. And he talked about eating eggs, and the Lord gives us a perfect gift in the egg. So, this diet that he's talking about is a diet of the first fruits, a celebration, not a Passover, because Christ our Passover has already been offered. Now let us keep the feast of unleavened bread, with sincerity of heart, until the ripening of the first fruits. See, in some ways, we couldn't eat right when the earth was cursed, because Yahweh cursed it, and we ate dead bread until we died. Say, well, Dave, why don't you just, be a vegetarian? It's bad to eat meat. Because we're already cursed. Our Heavenly Father did not choose to come down and tell the world how to live forever. Because it wouldn't have mattered a whole lot, because everything is in a fallen state. We're mortal. And the only way we could live is a life for a life at that time. We weren't ready to receive light and enlightenment. We weren't enlightened. So at the appointed time, he came and tried to give us a little better understanding. The Bible tells you in the book of Ezekiel and Jeremiah and Isaiah about a new covenant that he's going to make with us during the millennial. And then again, probably infinitely into the future. There will always be new graduations and ways of existence. I mean, you can't tell a dog to sit at the table with a bib and a fork and eat properly. They're dogs. When they get to become humans, then they can eat differently in some kind of etiquette. So, if you look at what Jesus said, you can see that he was giving us a new way of living, not the old sacrifices of animals, but yet he knew that we need certain nutrients. And he told us what would be the perfect food for us that would give us the most life that we could acquire in this world as it is in its fallen state. And he told us to eat fish. And I will show you why that's so important. We're going to prove scientifically and with philosophically. We're going to talk about it as to why that's so important. But Christians are completely unaware of this. But it is literally in the Bible and explains it very thoroughly. In Ezekiel, I think chapter 34, and starting around verse 10 all the way down through 20s and 30s, is talking about this new covenant, and is not talking about the covenant that Jesus made specifically with the 144,000 to sit upon thrones. He made a covenant with them, with his anointed, his brothers, for a kingdom, that they would sit upon thrones. That's the covenant that Jesus made. He didn't actually make the new covenant yet. It tells you he'll make that new covenant with us at some point when there will be no more death. And it will be a covenant of peace, and the shepherds will no more kill the sheep and eat them, but they'll bandage them and shepherd them to eternal life. He'll make a covenant not just with us, not just with the anointed to sit on thrones, not just with the people to live forever, but with all flesh, with the animals. That won't happen until the end of the 1,000 years. Now, at the beginning of the 1,000 years, he will make a covenant of peace, and they will set up a kingdom, but that's another stage to this all. These covenants that we got, they're sort of gradually restoring mankind. And another way to look at that, it's not so much restoration from that which is fallen as it is from the beginning. We're graduating, growing, and learning through suffering, and along the way going through classrooms and graduating, and then moving up to higher stages or covenants, so that we can eventually attain unto the fullness, and that the divine Father and divine Mother will be all things to all people, and Christ will hand back the kingdom unto his deity and his Father, that he will be all things to all people. Well, yes, originally we were all in that state. It's spoken of there in Genesis chapter 1. In our, before the founding of the world, we were all one in Christ. This is a plan, an eternal purpose that he purposed in us, and we're the ones who are predestined, which means it was planned. So when Jesus came, he gave us fish. It's a gradual restoration. Eventually, the Bible says in Ezekiel that we'll eat fish during the millennium. So because we're not restored yet, and that means we haven't attained to absolute total perfection. And nobody can say, oh, I'm going to do it now. No one could go ahead before the others. The Bible tells us not to even go ahead. Because if you think you know more than the rest of mankind, what the Lord has revealed to them, then you're just a hypocrite or proud. And you're actually not living in truth because you don't know the truth as you ought yet to know it. It will be revealed when the Father reveals it. And so he has a plan, and we got to follow the plan. Right now, we're supposed to eat fish, or else we're going to die. We won't be healthy. And many of you are sick, Paul says, and weak and dying because you don't have faith You need to develop faith and follow the program. And don't go out ahead and think you know more than the rest. Very soon, it does tell us that he will send David, King David, that existed 1,000 years before Christ. King David is spoken of in Ezekiel, he's spoken of in Isaiah and Jeremiah, that he will make a covenant and King David will reign over the world. And there will be a covenant of peace with the world. But we're not there yet. Right now we're supposed to eat fish. But I believe that the Great Tribulation will start within months, no more than maybe a couple, 2.5, 3 years from now. I think it'll all be done by 2030. That's what they're saying. The only thing that could be that they don't know is that the Lord will cut it short and their little plan won't go all the way to 2030. That's what I think. Because I don't think it'd go beyond 2028. You know, they started the 7-year covenant with the people, the many. A friend of mine sent me a video about this, and it's very true in that aspect. And many people haven't seen this. But this group over there in wherever, King Charles is setting up this meeting, and they're having this big worldwide event. And they're saying they made a covenant with all the people from 2021. They're even calling the Pope the prophet. And their religion is Mother Nature and everybody must come into compliance. And they're going to renew it in December the 12th or something. But they thought, well, when they renew it in December, then it's going to be 7 more years. I'm not sure. I think it was actually started in March of 2021. Around the springtime. And it'll end in the spring in 7 years. But the last 3.5 years will be about the time that Trump takes office. And that'll be the Great Tribulation. But it could be a couple of years beyond. They're claiming it may go to 2030. But we don't know that. But when this happens, when Jesus returns, he will raise up King David, and there will be a righteous new kingdom and a new covenant of peace with all animals and all of this world, with things that we know now. But so they're telling you, well, you need vitamin D. Then they're like, oh, no, we don't need vitamin D. We got to have this special kind of D, vitamin D3. Well, they don't tell you that D3 is from animals. Well, if you don't want to eat animals, the only way you're going to be able to live in this fallen state, you got to have this nutrition. That lamb is going to give his life for you so you can live. Well, there's another way. We can eat fish. Fish have actually more of the things that you may need. Might even be better than that lamb. Now, if you ate, I don't know if you remember, if you go back to the Garden of Eden, it says Abel brought the fatty pieces of a lamb, and his offering was acceptable. In other words, he was in better communion with the Lord, had better health. That's what that means. He's more alive by eating the fatty pieces. Why? Because the fatty pieces of a cow or a sheep, like the liver, has all of the nutrition. This is why these elite are drinking, blood or something. This is why they're vampires. Because they don't care about anything. They only know that they need to find enough nutrition to try and stay young and to be alive as long as they can. Now, according to the story, vampires live a long, long time. But they only can live if they feed off of others. And they want you to feel sorry for them because, well, we have to kill in order to live. So therefore, we're justified. Jesus, I know this is kind of a weird way of looking at it. But Jesus said, I am going to provide for you a way that you can live longer and healthier. And ultimately, if you can crack this code, which we will become enlightened one day and understand the meaning deep within this. We're going to be able to live forever, but we've got to change our diet to live longer. And the only way to change your diet is to change your mind. You couldn't tell somebody to eat a certain food that they didn't understand or know what it was. And you might not want people living forever in a condition of probation where there are still sinners and murdering one another and lusting. Righteousness comes before living longer. So we will understand more about what to eat and because it's all provided already. I do believe that right now there are people in this world that in this condition could be transformed in their body and live forever. But they would have to have some enlightenment, which I think is what the Bible is talking about with this Holy Spirit that's supposed to come down and come upon the world. And I think in our day, and it looks like they're making a covenant, and the Antichrist is here. And it's all, in their mind, it's all going to be done by 2030. So I just want to look at this from a scientific point of view, even though we're not going to go into it too scientifically, because most of what they're saying is lies. So Dr. Berg and all the others, and I don't remember all their names. I know Dr. Berg's name, and I think Dr. Berg's sincere, all of them, but they just can't grasp the whole truth, so they're not going to tell you the whole truth. So they say, oh, you should go out and get vitamin D. Well, that's probably one of the most important things in all the world, and yet they don't talk enough about that. And they don't grasp that it doesn't do a darn bit of good if you took vitamin D if you don't take vitamin D3, which is animal-based, and then which you get from eggs and fish or sunshine. And then they'll go on like, well, nobody could go out and sit in the sun all day, so what? Well, maybe that's the problem. You can't, there are no shortcuts. I'm telling you, can't go out and supplement with synthetic crap and expect any improvements. It won't work. Because if you take vitamin D, they don't tell you that you're going to be deficient in magnesium. You got to take magnesium with it. But here's the thing, and this is what they'll never tell you. There's no way on this earth we could ever figure out all the things we need. Little IUs or milligrams of this and a little milligram of that. We'll put it all together and mix it up like in a cauldron of our potion, and we'll take that and call me in the morning. And no, it's not going to work because you're going to miss some things. You can't make food. The Lord made food and it grows on trees. I'm telling you, you can't do it. And not only can you not do it, well, I'll just do it anyway. It can't hurt. No, it will hurt you. If you take vitamin E, you're going to be deficient in other important vitamin E's. But you're also going to be deficient in minerals. And so one thing that you take by itself is going to make you deficient in other things. And they don't tell you this. I don't know if they know it. I'm sure the world is starting to learn this. And they're starting to, you'll watch videos and maybe somebody will say, oh yeah, you need magnesium with it. Oh, thanks for letting me know, right? Well, why is it? I want to know. What do you guys think? Why is it someone like Dr. Berg or anyone else? And look, I don't know. I haven't watched all the videos. They might have said this somewhere along the line. But I guarantee that basically, all the videos that I've seen, none of them really stress this very important thing. Because everything else they're saying is garbage. And if you don't understand this, that you cannot take supplements, just forget it, stop it, don't do it no more. It's making you unhealthy. There's simple ways. You can take a teaspoon of cod liver oil. If you're really sick and you're not feeling well and you're older, I would do 2 tablespoons to start, maybe 3. And after a while, a few weeks, go down to 2. And then once you become optimized, 1 tablespoon every day of cod liver oil. You have all the vitamin D3 that you need and the vitamin A that works with it. Retinol, not this other carotene thing that you pee out in the toilet every morning that doesn't assimilate into your body and make heart tissue and mind tissue and muscle. It's water-based. It can do very little. It doesn't repair your mind, your heart. It doesn't help with arthritis. So why would you go out and buy vitamin D3 which study after study has shown that only 40% of it is even assimilated. And then you're now deficient in all these other things. Vitamin A, it doesn't really work very well. I mean, yeah, they can measure your blood and yep, you got enough vitamin D now. After 5,000 IUs of this synthetic stuff for months, well, you've raised your vitamin D, but what is it that's in your blood now? Synthetic stuff that doesn't have a balance. It's not a food, and it's depleting you of many other things, and it's not working on a metabolic dimension that your body is supposed to. It's not helping you. It's making you sick. Don't do it anymore. Why would you do it when you can go out and get cod liver oil that does it 10 times better and has the A and everything else and the omega-3s? And by the way, stuff like, if these guys really wanted to tell you the truth, why wouldn't they just tell you this stuff? I mean, somewhere you'll find a video that says, oh, cocoa powder is so wonderful. Great, but do they really get down to the truth here of just how amazing cocoa powder is? It's a real food. Go get some real organic cocoa powder. You say, oh, dark chocolate's good for you. Yeah, but it's all sugar in the candy bar form. I don't care if it's 75 or 80% cocoa, whatever. It doesn't taste very good at that point. But it's better just to go get some real 100% cocoa powder and put it in your coffee. If you stop eating sugar, just milk itself has a little sugar in it. And it's sweet enough as it is with a little cream. And put the cocoa powder in there. Or sprinkle the cocoa powder in, some food that you're making. But the cocoa powder has all the magnesium you could ever want. If you got to have magnesium. Don't go buy magnesium pills. That's ridiculous. Fish itself has magnesium. They say that cod liver oil doesn't have much of it in there. So I would think that along with the cod liver oil pills, I would take a couple of tablespoons for a while, maybe 3. I know it's, get it in the pill form because it's hard to swallow. And you're going to have all of the D3 that is the kind that is in a food, in a molecular structure that your body needs with the vitamin A. 1,350 IUs of vitamin A, retinol, oil-based vitamin A, that will be stored in your body. But now here's another thing. They say, well, you should get some exercise and you should get some sunshine. But look, who can do that? So what you should do is go get some synthetic vitamins and what? Friends, you're just making it worse. Don't do it. What you've got to do if you want to be healthy is literally go outside and lay in the sun. Now, here's the thing. You say, well, I can't go outside every day. You don't have to. The sun shines in the summertime. And you need to lay out for hours every day during the summer. No pants, in your birthday suit. You need some acreage, some land where where you can be a living being and walk around without your clothes on. Or at least, have some shorts and don't put a hat on and go outside for a couple hours and literally get sunburned. Oh, forget this garbage about radiation. You see, you're getting radiation because you don't have the minerals and nutrients, and therefore it's causing cancer. But if you're getting the vitamin D, look, if you don't get vitamin D, you're probably going to get cancer anyway. You're not going to get cancer from the sun. You need the sun, for the Lord's sake. Goodness gracious. Well, I didn't say you got to lay out there and burn yourself to a crisp, but you need sunshine. And if you get sunshine every day, you're going to get a suntan and you're not going to get burned anymore. My stepdad used to sit out. He used to go out and work. He had his own business and he was a body man. And every day during the summer, from morning till night, he was wearing his, I don't know if they were like swimwear or whatever. He wore these shorts and he was literally naked everywhere else. And he would rub mineral oil all over his body. And he was a white man, but he was very dark. And he was still dark even during the winter because, well, he would go outside during the winter as well. But here's the thing I'm trying to tell you. Sunshine, the D3 that you get from sunshine, it stays with you. If you go out one day and get to sunshine, it stays. It's absorbed into your body, stays in your body for a week or more. We don't know exactly, but for at least a week. So if you just go out and spend 2 or 3 hours in the sun every day, you don't need to do it the rest of the week. So here's another thing. If you go out all summer, you're going to get enough of that vitamin D3 to last you all year, especially if you're going to be outside a little bit during the winter. You know, why not go outside in the winter? A little bit as well. Especially if you live someplace where it's not a lot of snow. Well, I had to shut this off for a minute, and then I went out to my truck to get some things and stuff. So, what we were talking about here is sunshine. Now, I don't know, but it's interesting that you can get a vitamin, that they're calling a vitamin, from sunshine. I don't know much about this because I'll tell you, I don't think they know anything about it. But I will tell you this. The way they're describing your DNA is that certain parts of your genetic code is triggered or activated by the vitamin D. So, I don't even understand where they're getting the idea that these are vitamins. Like something that you get from a carrot is a vitamin, and something you get from the sun is a vitamin. I don't know if the sunshine is really even the same thing. But I will tell you this. I have seen my dogs, and I haven't just seen them once or twice, but my dogs and any other animals I've ever seen, the chipmunks and all the birdies, they will go lay in the sun whenever there is sunshine, and they love it. You might think, well, they're just interested in getting warm. But I have seen them laying out in the sun when it is so hot. Like I've touched their body and it's burning, like they're literally hot. I believe that sunshine is a miracle. I believe that, you know how they talk about exercise? That we can kind of understand. You're using your muscles, you're beginning to activate certain enzymes, you're activating hormones. This is why I think we're all supposed to be with our soulmate, because there are certain hormones. What was the first commandment? Be fruitful and become many. I don't think a person could ever really be happy in this world without sunshine, activity, which is really joy. If you're unhappy, you're not going to go running around, right, doing things. People work like slaves, but I don't think that's the same thing as working when you're happy, taking a walk. But the dogs will run. Oh, the snow came down and they were running around like it was the best thing since sliced bread. They love to run and play in any condition, but boy, if the sun is out, they'll play. If the snow comes down, they'll play. They just love everything that comes their way, and everything is needed. I don't think you can live without going and exercising and running and playing. But a lot of you can't do it because you're working. You got too much to do. You're a slave. Why won't you just stop being a slave? If you can't do anything else because of the world that we live in and the deplorable nature of it, they kind of force you into slavery in a lot of ways. I understand that. But you can work your way out of this slavery. One thing you can do, and many of my friends are doing it, they'll just get a camper and they'll go traveling. I like the idea, except for this one caveat. I think we need our own place to park. I think we all need our own little place. Now, we can still go running and looking and visiting and Back in the old days, they didn't have cars to go look at the parks in Glacier or Yosemite. We have that beautiful privilege now, and it's nice. Do it. It's a wonderful experience. However, we need a home. So I think everybody needs a home out in the wild, in a prairie or in a forest or in the desert or on the ocean. A place that we can call our home. And that sense of security is so important to your health. You need family. So, well, I don't have family. Yeah, I know. This is what they're trying to do. Well, we can't do anything about it, Dave. They're just destroying the world and taking our families and giving us drugs. And, well, we shouldn't have allowed this. But even now, we have to say no. We have to stop and resist the urge. A lot of the things that we're messed up in is simply this. They offer us all these things and pleasures, and we take it. We don't have to. You didn't have to go get a big job in the city, out of the country, and leave your family behind. You did it to go out and make a bunch of money. What were you doing making money? You were going to buy some things. Are you happy? You got your things? You're a slave to those things. The house in the city is not good for you. You don't need very much money if you have a little piece of land somewhere and you live on your land and you have your family with you. You don't need to go anywhere. You'll be happy. And if you did that several generations, your family would be, there's no law against it, but we just don't do it. We're all being suckered by the offer to get down and worship the beast. Friends, that's it. I know it's going to get much worse. It's going to be an absolute make a decision here pretty quick. Worship government or die. But right now, it's almost that way. We're getting used to it. We've been being, lulled and slowly lured into it for a long time. You couldn't go to school unless you put your kids in this, they had to do the thingy. And, well, we got to do it because we got to be in the world. We can't just leave society. We won't be allowed to go to school. And we've got to have an education, Dave. No, you don't. This education is all lies, like I've been telling you. You were brainwashed just for the lure to have your big house and your porcelain toilet. I have an outhouse made out of wood, and my toilet seat's not porcelain. It's one of those 10.99 ones at the Walmart or whatever. And it's just fine. And yeah, it's a little cold and nippy in the winter. But you know what? That little inconvenience isn't such a convenience. It's life. I've experienced the cold breeze on my forehead, on my brow. And you know what? It's a memory I will never forget. It's part of life. It's the way that we live. It's hormones and feelings and emotions that you're not getting. All you're getting is pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. You're getting lazy and you're getting sick and you're dying. Stop it. You're going to die, and not just die, but you're going to lose your soul. You've got to go out and get some exercise. You have to. Not just for your body. Well, I don't care if I'm fat. But for your eternal soul's sake. For your children's sake. Stop being bought out by the devil. The devil offered Jesus everything, and he turned it down. And it's just a parable, but he went to the cross. But we've all got to do that. I mean, I'm not saying we should go get a cross and nail ourselves to it. A literal one. I'm saying we must daily take up our cross. And that means that we have to understand that what's important is that the world that is in this society and all their rules and their hypocrites and all these Pharisees, they think they're going to have righteousness by means of the law. They're going to have order. Law and order. And we've got to have porcelain toilet seats. And if you're Trump, it's got to be made of gold. Well, you know what? Hey, he's a rich man. I mean, he earned it. What a wonderful guy, He made a good living for himself and for his family. No, it's idolatry. How dare you put gold on your toilet seat? That's worse than blasphemy, I think. You're a sacrilegious, slothful pig that's wasting the poor resources of this world on your own pleasures. And this is why you're going to perish in the coming tribulation, friends. All of you who don't listen. I'm telling you, I'm warning you now. If you don't stop it, you're not just going to be sick and die. You're going to lose your soul for a period of time in a place where you're going to pay every penny for what you've done. There are consequences to this. You're becoming lazy and stupid. It isn't a bad thing to live in nature and to have things you whittle with your own pocket knife. Antlers on your balcony and puppies to play with. And chickens to gather eggs from. Oh, it's too hard, Dave. No, it's much harder to do the things you're doing from 9 to 5. The only problem is you think it's worth it because you're getting some kind of pleasure. I don't even think it's really pleasure. I think you have literally been deceived, mind, body, and soul, all of you, except for a very few of the wisdom teachers and those who are seeking the Lord in their own closets within themselves and saying, I don't want any part of this. I was lured into it when I was little, but I'm trying to get out of it now. I want peace. I want true peace and true security. And I want happiness. I know there'll be pleasure that will come with that. The pleasure of running with my pups and looking at flowers and growing things with my own hands. Those are the kinds of pleasures that you will truly feel within your soul, a deep satisfaction. What you're getting in this world is killing you and you won't stop. But even if you don't listen to anything I say and you don't care and you want to lose your soul, if you want to feel better, go get you some cod liver oil and take it every diggity dang dong day because you need it every dong day. And, if you can, eat fish every day. Catch it from the creek, from the lake, and fry it up and eat it every day like Jesus did. He broiled it over a fire. But if you're having a hard time, I lived in this world my whole life. And we ate venison and be honest with you, I only ate venison a certain period of my life growing up. And then, I was on my own at 15. I haven't really eaten a very good diet. I was wandering around in the world feeling sorry for myself and sad. And then I ended up having an abrupt awakening and had a daughter and I had to take care of her. And the only way I could make a living, I thought, was to go and work and barely pay bills and frantic. And, I've got to put my kid in school. I've been through the whole thing. But I tell you now, if I could go back and do it over again, I would have taken my daughter to this place I live now. I would have found a place to buy a little piece of land and I would have built me a cabin and I would have been here this whole time. But it's taken me all this time. I prayed and I prayed and I sought the Lord and I wrestled like Jacob did in this darkness. And the first thing I had to do was wrestle with myself until I finally could get myself to admit that I needed to let go of all this glitter. I didn't need a big fancy house. I had been brainwashed. Jehovah's Witnesses are very materialistic. They're all running around, they got jobs, and they've got to have their faces clean shaven because, of course, we've got to look like pedophiles or we're not going to make it in this world, are we? Stupid. And everybody's running around with their makeup on and trying to look like some, I don't know, Marilyn Monroe or whatever. That's what they tell you, right? Look on Vogue magazine, see how you're supposed to look. It's vanity. And it's all going to perish soon. And if we can't let go of it, we're going to perish with it. So eat cocoa. Coffee's not bad for you. Drink it in moderation. Eat fish and eat berries and fruits when they're ripe from the wild on your own property. You might grow some of these plants that grow in the wild in your backyard if you can't find them readily available. I don't know, but in Idaho, we used to go out and pick huckleberries. Every year, just gallons and gallons everywhere. I got gooseberries all over here. I know there's berries and things out there in the wild, but we don't eat them. We need to start going back to Eden, my friends, and living right, and stop with all this nonsense. Stop going to the doctor. All he's doing, that doctor, is lying to you and putting a bandage over a wound that is chronic and is going to kill you. And in fact, it's worse than that. A bandage might be a good idea to keep the poisons and the dirt and the infection out of it or something. Those things are good. Put some peroxide on it, whatever. That's all good. You got a broken leg? I'd say go to the doctor and have him set it because, he probably knows how to do that pretty well. But if he's trying to tell you that you, in order to be well, need to take medications every day, I could go and talk for hours on every one of these medications they're giving you, and all of them are literally taking years off your life. And just look at yourself in the mirror. You're not getting any better there with their rules. They're lying to you. All you need to do, if you can't eat fish, is take cod liver oil. If you can't, the best thing to do is just go eat a fish diet every day with nuts and berries. Go back to the original fruit of the tree, which is normally, nuts, pecans and walnuts and things that grow on trees. There are bean pods all over Texas, the mesquite, and all of most of the world. The acacia have these pods. John the Baptist ate the pods. They called them the locust berries. They're a type of bean. But, most of these things like beans and nuts are to be a supplement for different tastes, but they're oil-based foods, nuts are. And you must be in an oil-based diet, not a plant-based, watercress diet. Oh, I'm losing weight. No, you're losing minerals and vitality, and you're dying. So I could go in. We're almost an hour, and I'm going to have to close it here. I wanted to talk more about just the scientific details about how each of these vitamins are not good for you, but they're killing you. Each of these supposed synthetic vitamins. Vitamin C is totally synthetic. All these B vitamins, totally synthetic. They're not even really good for you at all. They're poison. If you don't believe me, start looking into the ill effects of these synthetic poison vitamins that they're giving people. And look into how simple it would be to just take some cod liver oil to get all the vitamin E, because, fish is the best thing. So, there might be other ways. Avocados have a lot of it and stuff, but eat good food, friends. Find something you like. And if you can't do that, just take some cod liver oil pills every day. And if you like cocoa, who doesn't like that? And then you can get your magnesium and some of the other vitamins and minerals. And eat lots of nuts. I'm going to go ahead and go. I hope you have a wonderful evening. May the Lord bless you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.